it's good to look back at your old lists. So, for example, I write one of these every day, I fill it out, and then when I'm done with the day, I will transfer the leftover things onto my next day, but I'll also take a picture of that and store them on my computer just so I have a running tally. And it'd be good once a month to just sit there and page through them. It take, like 5 minutes or something. It doesn't need to take a long time, but just see the things that I've been working on, see what I was able to get done to get a sense of how quickly I work on things so I can plan my time management better going forward. And also just to get an overall sense of the things that I'm working on, are they helping me get to some of the goals that I have? If I have a goal, I keep my, as I've said before, keep my long-term and short-term goals hanging on my desk here next to me. And if one of my goals is to have 600 works published on Amazon in 5 years and have 500 books published on Amazon within the current year, that means I should be working on publishing books. And if I look over my to-do list for the past month and it's all about other kinds of things, but none of it involved working on any of my books, then I'm not going to make any progress on my year-long goal of working on books. So it's good to do just a check every once in a while, say, okay, am I losing track of one of my goals? What do I need to adjust to make sure that I get to one of my goals? Or do I need to adjust the goal? Maybe I put a goal onto my year-long goal list, which just won't be able to be met. And how can I adjust the goal? Maybe I need to drop the number of books I'm going to work on, or something else. So it's a back and forth process where you look at the list, see what's on there, look at what you're doing each day, see what's on there, and see how the two of them can be brought more in sync with each other. So all of those kinds of processes shouldn't take a lot of time. It took, let's say, an hour to initially set up my lists, and now I can just glance at them every day. It takes 10 seconds to look over the list and just remind myself of what I'm working on and what I need to focus on for the day. And there's some days that I don't work on anything on one of these kinds of lists. My laptop's trying to update. No, do not update. Um, there's some days that, my son comes over and I just spend the day with my son, and that's okay because it's important for me to spend time with family. And there's some days if I'm not feeling well for whatever reason and I just stay in bed and I, you know, rest and relax. Keeping care of our health is important too. So I'm not saying to treat yourself like a machine and just to jam all of the hours that you have or minutes that you have chock full at every single second. But I'm also saying to try to keep an eye on whether you get sucked into Facebook for hours and hours and hours, or binge watch something for hours and hours that you didn't even really mean to watch, but it just kept, the next one kept coming up and you just sort of got transified sitting there staring at it. The more that you can build a list for yourself, hopefully the more that you can realize when that sort of behavior is starting to happen and draw a rein in on it and say, okay, as much as it would be fun to watch another 20 seasons of reality housewives or whatever you're watching, I really need to get this done before tomorrow because I've got a deadline. So why don't I pause the TV and work on some of these other things? And, I use the reality shows as an example, but I do watch reality shows myself. I like The Amazing Race, I like The Masked Singer. So there are shows like that that I watch. I understand why they're alluring and fun, and they're a good way to rest and relax. So it's everything in moderation. You watch some of those, and that's great. But also, if you have things that need to get done, for example, I get grants from the local cultural councils, which pay for some of my local writing seminars that I run at the library, and they also pay for some of the art workshops that the Blackstone Valley Art Association runs for the local community. Those grants have deadlines. I have to apply for them by a certain date or we don't get the grant money. And when we get the grant money, I have to send in all the paperwork to explain what we did, or they're not going to reimburse us for the costs that we incurred. So those are deadlines that are set. And if I miss a deadline because I'm having lots of fun watching The Amazing Race, sure, The Amazing Race is a good show, but I don't need to watch it right now. I could watch it on the DVR later, and I can get the grant work done so that the grant work doesn't get missed. So it's all about shuffling priorities, knowing what needs to get done at the moment, and finding a balance in it. So it can be tricky at first, especially if you get used to just binge watching things hour after hour after hour. You fall into a pattern. Again, so many things in life are these patterns that we build, and that we fall into because it's easy to fall into. And the TV shows are trying to hook us because they want us to see as many ads as humanly possible. So a lot of the way the TV shows are set up is that they will just keep starting the next one in line. And if you don't get to that remote quickly enough, it's going to start up the next one, and then you get sucked into what the next one's going to be doing. You say, okay, I'm just going to watch one more, and then it's the next one, and then suddenly it's 5 in the morning, and you realize you've been watching them all night long, which I have certainly done myself. Just last night, I forget even what we were watching, but then it rolled over into a cookie making reality show, one of those competition things. And I normally don't watch cookie making, but they make these shows so that they're intriguing. So they had different kinds of cookies with cool different kinds of decorations, and they had snowflakes that like you could see through. So I got sucked into watching the cookie making show. And then that's done, and I'm like, okay, I am done now. And then it rolled over into some other show, and again, they make it super interesting. And she's like, oh, well, maybe I'll just watch this one. And finally, you have to pick up the remote and say, no. As much as they are trying to suck me in and get me to do these things, I have other things that I really need to get done and that people are waiting for me on. So, like this Robert poetry cover, which I think you can see 2/3 of on your screen, but I'll figure out the screen stuff. Um, his poetry book is done. He is done and he's ready to publish, and all he needs is a cover. And he was trying to work with someone on Fiverr, and he had problems with the person on Fiverr, and like so the Fiverr person took like a month, and then now he talked to me, I forget, a week or two ago, and said I just don't know what to do. I can't get my poetry book out. So if I had kept putting off doing the covers for the poetry book, he could have been stuck, who knows, for another 6 months or a year when he's ready to publish. He wants to get this live, and that would make him really joyful. And it took me, I don't know, half an hour. It took me half an hour, let's say, to make these different iterations of a poetry cover to then post up. And now I'm getting comments on, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and so on from people to get feedback about which one they like. So I could block out 20 minutes and get these cover designs mock-ups, the initial mock-ups done for him to put up so that he can make forward progress. And now we sit here for a day and two and hear people's feedback and suggestions and ideas. And then we make a final version and he's live. And it doesn't even have to be the final version of his cover. We could put something up and then he could come back, in a couple weeks and say, oh, maybe the letters should be better in white rather than light blue or something. And we make the change and we put the new version up. So it's not like it has to be set in stone, a final one, but at least it's something. And it gets his book up and it gets it out in front of people, and you can have the book available. Well, Christmas could be tough right now, but it could conceivably be ready online for Christmas, and that would be a great Christmas present for him. So that time when I was watching the cookie baking show for an hour and then rolling over into, and see, I don't even remember what I got rolled over after the cookie baking show. I know somewhere in there was a show set, and maybe it was the Alaskan show, or no, Maine, the Maine show about the rangers in Maine trying to save owls and stuff. And owls are cute. How can I resist a show about saving owls? But there's only so many hours in my day, and helping Robert for half an hour makes him really happy. And that's probably a better way to spend my time, to make him happy and to get other people involved in learning about his poetry rather than watching yet another reality show about cute little owls and their big eyes and how they were rescued and saved. As much as it brings me joy. I can watch 2 hours of saving owl shows and be quite happy. I don't have to watch 4 hours of saving owl shows and just see more and more owls being saved. Because of us, and they're being saved because they're hurt. So then there's the whole sad part of watching little hurt owls that they have to then save. So anyway, the overall thought here is that we all have oodles of things we could be doing with our time. I could spend hours and hours on YouTube watching videos about nature and owls and ducklings and all those other cute things, cats. And that would be great fun, but it would not help my to-do list of things that I want to get done. Things are on my to-do list because they're important to me. They're not like inventions of someone else that someone else put on my to-do list. And you could say that some of them aren't fun, like order oil so we don't freeze to death. But it would be really sad if I had not ordered oil and then we did get cold and then the cats were all cuddled up with us trying to stay warm while we tried to get some emergency oil. There are things that you just have to do. And while the thing itself may not be fun and joy filled, it's something that helps your life be better in general. That's the reason it's on your list, is because it's something that you think is important to making your life a better life. So if you can think about the more global holistic view of the things that you're doing, that maybe it's not fun to go grocery shopping, or maybe it's not fun to order oil, or whatever these other things are, it's still something that makes your life better, which hopefully is what part of your goal is here. So, for example, every day I check Amazon and eBay because I sell things on both systems to pack them up and sell them. And on one hand, it's not fun to sit there and go. We have an entire room upstairs full of all this, Amazon and eBay books because my daughter-in-law gives me books, and I have all sorts of objects in the house from my father and my mother that we're selling off. So it's not fun to go digging through the room and try to find the things that we're going to sell and then figure out how to pack them up and all that other kind of stuff. But it's giving me free money because the stuff that's sitting up there in the room isn't helping at all just staying there in the room. It's being a hassle to have so much stuff in the house. So if we could sell things more quickly and get them out, we would both have money to spend, and we'd have less stuff up there to go digging through when people ordered something. So it's a win-win. So I can't look at going up and digging through there as a hassle negative kind of thing. It's something I want to happen. I want these things to sell. I want to get them out of the house. So I have to think about the larger picture when one of those orders comes in and say, this is a great thing. Let's get it out of the house. Getting some money. Progress is being made.